I'm Sarah Lufstyle, and this is Influence to Equity. I will be joined by guests from a wide range of industries who all have the commonality that there's no perfect linear line to success or life. Together, we're gonna figure out what works for you, for what defines success along your journey. Dr. Emeka Aludogbu has traveled the world to provide treatment and help professional athletes perform at their optimal level, from the Dallas Mavericks to the Philadelphia Eagles and even the Nigerian Olympic track and field team. But he wanted more. Now he's expanded into environmental science and sustainability tech, which is an entirely different industry. Welcome the Dr. Emeka to Influence to Equity.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I do what I can. Emeka, tell us your story. Where did you begin your career and how did it change?
Yeah, I'm a sports chiropractor. That was my initial start. I played sports. I had a sports background. Through my own injuries and the way that I was mishandled made me kind of realize that I didn't want to put the same burden on my fellow athletes. I think sports was so easy for me because I knew the sports, I knew the game, I played the game. So it was easy for me to relate to a lot of the guys and ladies as well too, because once you understand how the body moves, it's easy for you to figure out what to do with it.
So let me ask you this. Injury happens, you decide to go back to school. Once you did you always want to be a sports doctor? Is that why you decided, like, this is just the natural route for me to go into? Like, I was 5, I'm going to be this thing. Is that what you wanted to do?
No. My background is I'm Nigerian. Okay. So in the Nigerian culture, and my mother will probably hang me for saying this, but it's either you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, engineer, pharmacist, prestigious titles.
Yeah. I'm Ethiopian, so I get it. ዶክተር ወይ ነርስ ነው የምትሆኚው ከዛ በኋላ ከፈለግሽ ወደ ሎየር ትሆኛለሽ ከዛ ውጭ ምንም
Exactly.
Sorry, y'all. I had to go real Ethiopian. I had to go Amharic on y'all. Those were your only options.
Tell them how it is, right? So you didn't have a chance to really explore or anything outside of those categories didn't exist. And it's still to today in majority of Nigerian families. Whatever the reason is, whatever the cultural bringing is, I think that's what we were bred to understand. But for me, I really didn't care to do that.
So why do it?
Well, I was called to it.
Okay, wait. We've had these conversations before. It's such an interesting concept for me. So then what's the difference between your calling and your passion? Because you made a hard pivot left.
That's actually a really good question. I got caught up in forgetting my why. I look at it as what your gifts are and what your talents are. I think those two are very interchangeable because my gift has always been to heal. I was raised by women, so as a man, I feel like I had the natural intuitive to be able to decipher. I had, multiple experiences that I had that kind of gave me the ability to be able to help and heal people. From that side, that was my gift. My talent, on the other hand, is I'm very strategic. I understand math. I understand how to gather people. I understand investments.
Listen, which we've done well.
Hello. When I start to mix, healing someone with capital, a lot of people get lost. If you have that business acumen, it becomes very difficult. So then you start to dilute what you're actually doing. You're wanting to help people, but then you got to also look at the other side of how much you're making. So do humans become dollar signs, or are you going to stick to your integrity and stick to your guns as who you are and who you became? And so that was the battle that I had, which then helped me transition to using my talent versus my gift.
First of all, I appreciate you for your vulnerability, and I appreciate you for being honest about the capital and the money and being a doctor. But at what point did you realize this isn't what I'm passionate about? What was that moment where you're like, enough, I got to walk away?
I think it was a moment when I started to realize the value I was giving. I try not to place too much emphasis on the capital. I was given a lot of treatments away, and a lot of the professional athletes that I've treated, a lot of them I've given free treatments. But I started to see that even when doing that, the value in that also becomes diluted. And so I said to myself, it's either one, I become a shark and lose all integrity and morals or whatever it is that I have been given as my gift, or two, step aside.
What's interesting about what you said is we're technically in the business of making money. We're in the business
100%.
of building capital. This is what we do.
100%.
It's influence, which you took from medicine over to equity. How in the world do you shift careers? How do you find the courage, especially for a completely different industry that is not in sports medicine?
I was very good in sales. It's so funny because I always fought sales and I didn't want to focus on it, but I knew that the communication that I had, I was already selling, but I didn't even know that was happening. And it's just like, the more I started to digest more literature, I think it was what continued to progress me into understanding who I truly am. Don't get me wrong, Macamer now has been a very, very treacherous ground that I was walking on to that other side, because shit, you don't know what you don't know.
Nope.
You've made successful investments, but hell, it could also went the
Let's be real.
It could also went the opposite direction.
Like,
so
CPT, what does that stand for?
I'm trying to tell you it. So understanding that, I think that's where the wisdom came in.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't know how to decipher what a good deal is a bad deal, because you don't have the background and the knowledge to really understand that, this is where you get into trouble. You make a wrong decision, boom, right back at zero. But again, it's a 50-50 shot. Taking risks is also a big thing. So my experience is risks, my experience in sales, my experience is understanding languages. I think that accumulated to me understanding exactly when I took the hard look at myself. I was like, am I ready to do this? Do I want to move back to California and everything is going to shit? Understanding that I had already had these tools. I just needed to take a leap of faith and take a risk, because this time it was all me, because that's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, there's no safety net.
Oh, no. Yeah.
There's nobody to catch you. There's no trust fall.
There's no time. You can't make no mistakes.
It's a face plant.
Oh my God, man. I wish more women would understand that. Black women would understand that, because I think that that's the part that keeps a lot of women just very safe.
Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's a heavy weight to carry. But I know for me, I fear regret more than I fear failure. My dad has always said, if you failed, oh well. If you fell, oh well. What's the worst that happened? You get up and you do it again and you try again and you learn the lesson and you move on to the next thing. I know that you still practice medicine on a small scale, but does the shift in pace, lifestyle, perks, does it ever make you regret following this new path? Because like you said, it's hard out here for a pimp. The gas prices are high. Makes you want to figure out, do you want to walk? Are we crawling?
What direction we going? No, I still see patients, but I'm more of the management side, right? I give them a little bit more tips that might help them skip a few years, empowering those guys that are coming up. And so I give back in that sense. Some of my close friends and family, I still treat them. I still take my times, but that's very far in between though, because I don't have the time. This is all me right now.
Do you regret it?
No regrets. If you regret, you're walking backwards.
I'm going to ask you a question that's going to go back to something that you and I have experiences with and that you mentioned earlier. What does it mean to be a Black immigrant who is creating their own success? How do you know that you're on the right path?
Wow. That's a loaded question, Sarah. Oof.
Good luck. No pressure. Your mom is listening.
That's a loaded question. I wasn't born in the States. I was born in Nigeria. So I couldn't really speak English up to their standards. So I was held back. Watching my mom do it with all of us single-handedly, I think I have no choice. The way that she's raised me, I have zero choice but to either to match her or surpass her, because that's the only the person I see.
As an immigrant myself, born in a refugee camp, both my parents are immigrants. When folks ask me, where do you find your motivation from and where do you find your drive from? For me, it's my parents, and especially my mother. I think about her leaving at 13, coming to the States. I think about what it must have been like for her not to speak a language, to come to this country. We don't have a choice.
Right.
To see that and to not experience at least the best possible life that we could have in the States, with a lot less issues, with a lot less of the challenges that we would have had back home. But there's so much hustle culture too, because I struggle with that. So these days, do you think you're a hustler, or have you found that work-life balance?
I'm a hustler by heart. That's never going to go anywhere. So I've tried to build a routine within my hustling, taking it one day at a time. And every day is a victory for me.
Amen to that. So let me ask you this. If you could tell your younger self about finding your passion, what would it be?
And be patient. We're in the hustle mode right now, but if I were to go back, I would have been patient. I would have waited a little bit more. I would have listened a little bit better. I would have, asked those deeper questions.
Lord knows timing is everything.
Yeah. So I got a question for you.
Got it.
What would you tell your younger self?
I wish I would have trusted my instincts. Because I was a mother young, I thought there was an expectation of me as a woman and as a mom that did not allow me to explore all the options. Like you said, creativity was not a thing as an immigrant. That's not a real job. It's funny because you said patience, but there's a level of like patience and pace that we have. And I did not understand the pace that was set for me because I pulled back and I was listening to everyone else. I was able to do in 2 years, what should have taken me 5. I didn't even know that I had the capacity to do it. I didn't know that I could explore those things and do them in excellence because it seemed impossible to everyone else. So it felt like I needed to slow myself down to make everyone else comfortable. That's the one thing that I wish I could go back and tell myself is to run your race and as fast as you can go for you, but then learn how to slow down and get somewhere and sit down when you have to.
For you.
Because I will hustle to death. I will grind to the ground.
I don't know if you out hustle me though, but
What? Oh, absolutely not. The devil is a lie.
Hey man,
Dr. Emeka, thank you so much for joining me. I wanted to recap quickly the 3 things that I found to be incredibly profound. The first is understanding your why. The second, in knowing that there's a difference between your talent and your gifts. And the third, making sure that your talent and your gifts inform your why. Thanks for joining Influence to Equity. Until next time.